Hi, I'm Leo Popic, the founder and CEO of Leading Peers. Welcome to another Leading Peers Masterclass. In our Masterclass series, Leading Peers provides open and free access to education from experts to help CEOs succeed. In today's Masterclass, we will learn from Cesar Castro, a certified peer board leader in Leading Peers. I've asked Cesar to share with us how to prepare our businesses for Web3 and the Metaverse. Cesar, take it away.
Thank you, Leo, and good morning, everyone. My name is Cesar Castro, and I'm the founder and managing partner at Escalate Group. And I also a certified peer advisory board leader with the Leading Peers. So a little bit of my background, it is in innovation, technology, and exponential thinking. I'm really glad to be here and share, I would say, two things. First, why I think Web3 and the Metaverse really matters to a small business. And second, to discuss ways that we can all actively participate in this new space, in this new internet, and in actually shaping this new future of the internet. So let's start. I'd like to start with what is Web3. So from the Web3 perspective, it's basically a mental model, and it's a mental model for the next generation of the internet. So we started back in the 90s, and Web1 was all about going into the website, reading information, having access to information. Then more around 2007, we moved into that second phase that was the Web2. And in the Web2, we were reading, but also writing as a user. So basically it's when we all started to have smartphones, we were able to start putting our content in the web. So the best example I can think is the social networks, where we all are creating content. So we are not just reading, but we are reading and writing. And now is the third way, the Web3. And it's about read and write, as we've been doing until now, but also owning. So it's about ownership. And the Web3 gives the people the ability to own a piece of the internet. There are two key features in this new internet: decentralization on one side and ownership on the other one. And what the Web3 promised to us as a consumers, as a customers, is that we can control and have ownership of our own data, have control or ownership of our identity, our online identity. So it's true that Web3 is early and it still faces challenges. The main two challenges I can think about is scalability. So how this can be really for the masses, for everybody, and also user adoption. So still nowadays is a fraction of the population doing it, but the potential to revolutionize industry and empower individuals in all the different industries is really significant, is huge. So let's talk about AI and the Metaverse as part of this new internet. Web3 will touch every aspect of every business. And here in the slide, we see how it will touch, and it's touching payments, customer experience, employee experiences, the products that the companies are doing, how companies are doing products. So digital twins is something that didn't exist before, but now when somebody is creating a new physical product, they are creating digital twins, and they are doing it in something that is the industrial metaverse. Also, the way how we all manage our business is changing, because we all have our supply chain, but nowadays we have new digital supply chains for these new digital objects. So beyond the potential that I've been explaining here for the Web3, that Web3 needs to be responsible. So it has to be, in one side, human. So safety, sustainability, well-being, inclusion, they all should be first. So when we are building this Web3, we need to put all these things first. And then the second one is trust, which is related to security, privacy, protection of the intellectual property. And in that second part, in the trust part, is where the blockchain technology play a role. So Web3 enables this peer-to-peer trust and foster all the transparency and trust that the blockchain technology enabled between users, eliminating the need for intermediaries. And I will go back to this intermediation thing. It's a new world, and it's important to understand how this Web3 work. And here are some kind of guidelines that will be good for us to adopt this mental model that I'm talking about, the Web3. The first one is organizations. So organizations are moving to what is called nowadays a decentralized autonomous organization. And what are those DAOs? Those DAOs are self-regulated and self-governed organizations that use protocols, use consensus mechanisms, and use smart contracts or a new technology enabled by blockchain to work and to get things done. The people are represented in this new work as wallets. So people will have associated addresses and we have associated wallets. And the relationship on the Web3 are represented nowadays with non-fungible tokens. And these non-fungible tokens are unique digital pieces that, as I say here, represent the relationship of each of the people involved in this ecosystem. The social progress and how we evolve in this Web3 is related to our collections, roles, and rights, and those are embedded on those NFTs. The salaries, as we know it, is changing, and now the people starting companies in this space, their salary is not just the salary that we are used to. They think about grants, they think about airdrops, revenue share, tokens. So it's not just your monthly or bi-weekly salary anymore. It's much more than that. And the business models are evolving in this new work. It's still early, as I said before. However, it's very important for all of us to understand how decentralization and digital ownership are creating a new peer-to-peer economy. This peer-to-peer economy is an evolution, and of course it's different, it's an evolution of the platform economy and the sharing economy. The platform economy, just so as a reference, companies like Google, like Facebook, that they provide a lot of digital services to us, but they centralize, is one entity. The sharing economy is companies, a little bit more recent companies like Airbnb or Uber, where they share assets, they leverage assets for the members of the ecosystem. And now in this new peer-to-peer economy, as I said, it's all about decentralization and digital ownership. So the people that participate in these new business models, they work, they do things, they contribute, and they gain rewards. So it's different. And a couple of examples on this new peer-to-peer economy are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Perhaps the two more advanced, since Bitcoin started in 2009 and Ethereum started in 2014. And they are peer-to-peer economies. They are ecosystems, they are decentralized, they don't have a CEO, they don't have a headquarter, they operate as a community, and they are managed by the community. However, it's very important to understand that blockchain is not limited to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and as I said, it's early, it will take different forms. Bitcoin and Ethereum are only the first two examples of this peer-to-peer economy. So what is blockchain? We've been talking a lot about blockchain. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I have this slide to share. And it's basically an immutable ledger. So it's a database or a book of accounting that is immutable. So once something is in that book, something is in that database, you cannot change it. That database is shared by all the members that participate in the network. It's distributed. So what it means is the database is not only in one centralized point. Everybody that participates in this distributed system, in this peer-to-peer economy, they have a copy of that database. And it's secure because it's all covered by the latest development in cryptographics technologies and cryptographic science. So, and that's all important because it's very useful to record transactions and to track those transactions and to track assets and to build trust. So the real question for us today is really how a small business will adapt to the blockchain once it becomes more adapted and becomes like something that is everywhere. So as I say, I'm not going to focus on the technology, but I will rather focus in making sure that we all understand that blockchain is a digital trust, or is a form of digital trust. In other words, technology is now resolving the problem of trust. And why trust is important? Trust is important from the business model perspective because it allowed that business models that have been very successful in the past that are based on scarcity can evolve into abundance. So the mindset of having business models where I control it, and because I control it, I can put the condition and I can make money, those are business models from the past century. In the new century, the business model that we will see are going to be more business models about abundance. And the mindset of abundance is very important. And that digital trust and that trust is what enables those business models. So blockchain technology is providing trust and security to all the communications and transactions of this new internet. And some people call also the Web3 or the new internet as the internet of value. And what I will say is relevant to understand is that in that internet of value, it's not about the 6 billion people that we've been using the internet and transacting in the internet in the past year. Is incorporating also the 50 billion things that are being connected to the internet and that are starting to transact. So to put this into perspective, this digital trust in this Web3 work, it's kind of the first killer application. It's the equivalent to the email in the Web 1 back in the 90s. So with that in mind, now that we have some of the concepts covered, I want to go on what is then blockchain good for. And the first thing I will say is that blockchain as a technology increases the transparency. So the information asymmetric belong to the past. In the past, whoever has the information has the control. Now with the new technology, the information, everybody has the same information, and that's why it increases transparency. It reduces fraud because we have these immutable records. It enables new forms of your customers and identity for verification services that are critical for any company doing business in the digital world. It also speeds up processes. So industries that are heavy in transactions are using a smart contract to make their process faster and to get better experience for customers. And it enables faster and cheaper micropayments, which are very relevant in geographies where the banking system are not that developed and when we have a lot of people that is on bank. It also provides provenance and better logistic visibility for the supply chain and for the products. So once we understand this concept, and they are still generic, the next question people ask, okay, but all this, how can really actually use it in my company, in my business? What we have seen is that companies are embracing these Web3 technologies to gain competitive edge. There are three things that we have seen in our experience in the industry. And they are sources of real and tangible value. The first one is that the optimization of the organization and processes, which is related to one of the benefits I mentioned in the previous slides. So there are new identity tools. There are ways to reduce risk and supply chain. There are ways to optimize transactions. So it's all about how my current business models, I do it better. I optimize my processes. I optimize my business. But there are also huge potentials for brands that embrace Web3 to unlock new value, new digital value. So in one side, those brands are creating better customer experience and they are generating new business models. So let's review this in a little bit more of detail. From the business model perspective, we've been working on projects that you can put in these three groups. The first one is you can do tokenization. So it's called Web3 tokenization. You can do tokenization of real world assets, or you can do tokenization of economies. And that's a very clear new business model that didn't exist before. Tokenization is the new business models in the Web3. And tokenomics exactly is the new business model. The second one is industry disintermediation. So I promise that I will talk more on this intermediation thing. So companies that are in between helping to facilitate businesses, they have a big risk with the new technology because now we have trust in a digital world. So people can go and do this peer-to-peer transaction, this peer-to-peer relationship without the need of an intermediate, a middleman, without the need of a middleman that, bring that trust. So that's another big business model. And when you disintermediate an industry, you free up money and you free up value, and that value can go both ways, to the consumer and also to the company. And the third business model is related to data ownership and data monetization for the user. And that's getting stronger and stronger nowadays with the development of the AI protocols and the new language models and all that. So this data business is going to be huge. Then on the other side, on marketing, and particularly on digital marketing, is changing as well. Web3 is enable more engaging, fun and delightful experience while providing unique segmentation and engagement strategy for customers and stakeholders, because it's more about the ecosystem. So the Web3 digital rewards and collectible is one of the opportunities that different firms are embracing. And here is a list of these top corporate firms working on NFTs. NFT, as I mentioned before, non-fungible token, is a technology to represent a unique digital asset or digital collectible. And these digital collectibles are much more easier to understand than the blockchain technology, are much easier to understand than Bitcoin, than Ethereum. In the past few years, they brought complete new industry into the Web3 space. The art industry, the entertainment industry, they are now part of the industry. Initially, it was all about financial services, but now new areas and new spaces and new industries are coming, and NFT has been a critical part of it. So NFT is digital ownership and is represented in a blockchain network, but it's a concept that is easy to understand. So I want to discuss a few examples because this is an avenue that many of the companies can explore and should explore. So the first example is Starbucks. We all know is Starbucks. They have a very strong loyalty program. And what they have done is that they create a new Web3 community, and they are experimenting in enable new ways to engage the members and their employees. Is one of the first company, not the first company, that integrate NFT within an industry-leading loyalty program at scale. It's an experiment, but it's already integrated in the main loyalty program. And the users, they keep gaining the points as the traditional system, but now they are getting these NFTs that enable them to new experiences, enable them to new utility, both in the digital and in the physical world. A second example is one of the world's largest auction houses and brokers of art. It's Sotheby's. And Sotheby's has successfully bridged the gap between Web2 and Web3. So they are attracting traditional collectors from the Web2, but they are also targeting and getting new users from the Web3. So they started with a very simple experience. They invested in brand extensions to attract these Web3 consumers. And the simple experience, they make it focus on the Web2 consumers. And they've been able to build relationship with industry leaders. So they are really putting their business, making it like still in the Web2, but moving also that into the Web3. And more importantly, they've been executing at a personal scale. So here on the slide, you can see different examples, collections of different artists for each of them, but each of these projects is huge, it's big, it's an experiment, but it's an experiment on a scale. And I believe other brands can learn from their approach, and once they learn, they can adapt it to their own business model. A final example I want to bring here is Bored Apes, and that's a great example of how new players are creating intellectual property. Bored Apes is basically a set of 10,000 limited, non-fungible tokens. As you see in the slide, it's an illustration of apes, but each of those apes is unique and they have different traits. And it's an example of how newcomers, a company that didn't exist before, are creating new intellectual property. And with a huge potential, because they have the potential to compete with established brands. The same way we are seeing how the game, the OIP, the intellectual property coming from the games are now becoming firms. Companies like Bored Apes, Bored Apes can make it, but if it's not Bored Ape, will be somebody else, I believe. They can not only do these NFTs, but move all this community into the metaverse, create new games, create new experiences, create films, and then suddenly a company that is born in the Web3 can become a very strong IP house and become the new big brands or one of the new big brands. So that's why this is a very good example. They created a strong community. They use digital avatars to express identity and creativity. They offer to their community benefits and access, both physical and digital. They are leveraging network effects and also the scarcity of the NFTs. And they've been encouraging all the members of the community to create value and to innovate. And that's very important, that an approach that we haven't seen before in the Web 1 and the Web 2. So Web3 could help business in multiple ways. Here is more from the functions in the organization. So let me share a little bit what I have seen in the projects. And let's start with the one that we may think is not related, human resources. But companies that are going into the Web3 or native companies in the Web3, both of them, they are using these rewards, these NFTs or tokens or whatever tokenization they did to reward cultural alignment and candidate referrals, for example. So human resources is involved in that and can benefit from the technology and from the development on the Web3. Marketing, of course, companies, I've been talking about how companies can do new engagement with customers, new ways of engagement, but they are also incentivizing their communities in their social media activity, in the content collaboration, in the data collection. So they generate all these rewards and give it to the collaborators from the community. From product perspective, companies are doing provenance of the product. So it brings security and it brings transparency to the supply chain. As mentioned before, they have digital twins, and they also have rewards for in-product creators. So they involve the community in the product creation, and they reward the community, helping to create new products. And as I covered in one of the previous slides, they have also enhanced loyalty programs. So from fundraising, we have seen different companies here doing both private and public or crowdfunding programs. It touched multiple fronts in conclusion. So the next question is how to launch a Web3 project. And here are some recommendations. You should start with identity. It's important for relationship and for reputation. you can provide, for example, on-chain brand profile is something that customers like it. And you should leverage NFTs and make it very easy. And think of both audiences, your Web2 audiences and your Web3 audiences, and how they will use it, and make it easier for both of them. Then the second thing is build a strong community. Focus on community engagement, and NFTs could be a good way to provide this membership. And I will stop there, because until a company of a project don't have a strong community, I will not look into the organizations, I will not look into the ecosystem, I will not worry about compensation, grants, or distributed autonomous organizations. I will not worry about the tokenomics on the on-chain governance. All those things are important, but that comes next. At the core is how you build your community, and how that community, how you provide value to that community, and how you align the mindset of the community to then move forward with the organization and the ecosystem. So to start with identity, build a strong community. And for those of you that are ready and they say, okay, I'm ready, I want to start doing this, it's really interesting, I want to experiment. So here are some recommendations, and the recommendations are I would say not very different to a project in the Web2 and Web3. They have some caveats there, but the first thing is choose your audience. That's something you always have to do. The big difference here is that it's not just about your customers. You have to think on the ecosystem, on the employees, the contributors, the partners, the advisors, and how to make it in a new peer-to-peer economy. Decide on the membership and how that membership is earned. Design the reward system. Create online and offline member benefits, and focus on utility. That's the first step, and we are happy to review it further with anyone that is interested. And just to conclude, my one idea for today is first, you should be thinking on how Web3 is going to disrupt your business. Start looking if it's any Web3 community that is working on my purpose and are working on my industry. Start thinking if I should join that community or if I should start a new one, because it's different to what I want to do. The one thing I mentioned is create an educational plan for yourself, for your company, and figure out your Web3 strategy as a person and as an organization. Start experimenting with your company in specific problems and opportunities, and make it as tangible as possible. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you, leading peers, and I hope my presentation was useful and educational. I strongly believe Web3 enables individuals and has the potential to level up the fields for all businesses, benefiting the small businesses. From our company, we have empowered more than 50 companies, ensuring their relevance in the new internet world. We have participated in more than 25 Web3 projects. So if you have any questions or you want to explore more, please contact us, and I look forward to connect with all of you at our coming Leading Peers events. And thank you. I'm back to you, Leo.
Thank you so much, Cesar. Thank you for sharing your wealth of expertise, helping companies transform in this new Web3 and Metaverse era. Thank you for all the CEOs and entrepreneurs around the world watching this. And I do hope they get in touch with you and the Escalate Group. And we are fortunate to have you and continue having these workshops for our members here at Leading Peers. Have a wonderful day.